And here we go. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tennis Physio Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Melissa Minetti, a physical therapist and certified personal trainer. And today we will be interviewing Jamie Loeb, a professional women's tennis player from Ossining, New York. Jamie currently trains out of the South Bronx in New York and has a growing career in both singles and doubles. Jamie has a career high ranking of 132 in singles and 120 in doubles. She recently won another singles title and 3 doubles titles this year, with a total of 11 singles and 13 doubles titles under her belt. She has also played collegiate tennis with the UNC Tar Heels and won the singles NCAA championship in 2015, which led her to her first US Open and launched her professional career. Jamie has also competed in all 4 Grand Slams and is continuing to build over this year as she's going to her next tournament in the next week. So we're very lucky to have Jamie here with us. She also provides consultations to players, parents, and coaches on how to navigate the transitions of junior, collegiate, and professional tennis. And we're very happy to have her share all of her wisdom with us today. And just a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only and not to be used as individual medical advice. So Jamie, welcome, and thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for that intro.
Awesome. So I currently work with tennis players, especially adult tennis players looking to enhance their game. And I know that we are always looking to the pros to see, what is the next best thing and how can we optimize our game and performance on the court. So I'd love to learn a little bit about, your journey in tennis. When did you get started and how have things evolved for you over the years?
Yeah, so I am currently 28. I started playing tennis when I was 3 years old. So it's been 25 years of pounding and on the body and a lot of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah, a lot of years under my belt.
Absolutely. And, it's tough, right? You have to balance all that blood, sweat, and tears to be able to keep the body going, for all of that time that you've been playing. So what are some ways that, you make sure that your body's staying healthy and you're recovering in between all of these things?
Well, I think throughout the years, I think as we get older, our body changes and develops in different ways. And when I was younger versus now, I mean, I like to say I'm still pretty young, but I've definitely faced some injuries in the past couple of years, and just navigating my way through some other things. But I think what I've learned the most about myself is just, being so in tune with how I'm feeling on a daily basis and just taking note of that, from my diet to my training to my scheduling and travel. Like it all, plays a huge role into, your overall health and wellness, and just being really aware of that. And, I guess I'm trying to preach some advice here, but definitely listen to your body.
Oh yeah.
I can't say I always do that, but I am trying to do a better job of that.
Oh yeah. It's easier to say and not do as I say, not as I do, right?
Correct.
But yeah, it's something we're all striving for. I know that even for us on the court when we're playing, even recreationally, it's that balance of, well, I want to go play. It's a fun time. I get to be with people I enjoy. It's something I want to be doing, but also listening to our body, right? So being able to find that balance. In terms of injury, right? Because we all suffer from it at some point or another, right? How do you balance, being able to stay on the court to some degree and being able to recover from some of these injuries?
The biggest thing is having great preparation and great recovery, doing what's in your control. I mean, things pop up and sometimes are out of your control, but preparing your body the best way before you go on court and making sure you give it the attention afterwards, so you can continue to be on court day in and day out. And everyone is different, and I think my dynamic warm-ups have gotten longer and longer as years go on. I mean, ideally, I think now, I spend like 45 minutes to an hour before I play to really warm up the body, and then to cool down as well. So just really taking care of yourself and making sure, you're doing all the little things.
Yeah, it's not just the on the court, right? It's what you're doing on the in-betweens, essentially.
Yep.
So what does your before match warm up look like?
I mean, I do, a lot of like rolling and mobility work, and just kind of like loosen up the joints, the muscles, and do then like activation, and then get into like my dynamics and start moving around. Yeah, and just making sure that, I'm ready to go as soon as I hit the court.
Yeah, getting that heart rate going so you're just ready to hit the ball when you get on the court, right? versus having to make your first ball your warm up, essentially. Right.
Yep.
In terms of diet, right? You said you've been kind of honing in on some of those things and making that a little bit more, sharp in terms of what you're doing to help prepare yourself on the court. What new things have you maybe learned about diet that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think I've really paid a lot of attention to my diet post college, so post leaving, I guess, in 2015. And
Sure.
your body just isn't the same as when you're in college. And I've definitely did some like testing and food insensitivity things. And so for me, I've been gluten-free for 2 years now,
Nice.
and that's helped me. Gluten-free still doesn't mean that like it's calorie free. People have that misconception. But yeah, I'm just trying to do anything possible to also just limit any sort of inflammation in my body. And then just always having some sort of like protein bar or something that I can, eat, whether I'm traveling and like need something, just to always be prepared. Because I do a lot of travel, and, especially in some of the places I may not have access to the foods that I can eat. So just always having, something extra with me.
Yeah, and also preps you, if you arrive to a place and have to get on the court, you don't want to be doing that on an empty stomach right after a long trip. So always being prepared and having something healthy that you can, snack on is good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any brands or anything that you really love?
Yeah, I really love Drink Orgain. That's like one of my favorites. Yeah, I love their like protein bars.
Yeah.
IQ bar is another one that I've gotten
Mm.
into. It's not for everyone. Like the taste could be,
Sure.
For the normal person may not be great, but I love all the healthy snacks. Even like one of my healthy snacks I love, which people just don't understand my obsession, but it's called granola butter. Oat
Ooh,
House is the brand.
okay.
I mean, I should be getting paid for this advertisement right
You
now.
should.
But I love, like, it's nut free, soy free, dairy free, gluten
Oh
free, all
man.
this free. But like, I'm telling you, it tastes great.
I'm gonna have to
It's
check that
great.
out.
And I have a very sensitive stomach, so
Sure.
this has been great for me. It's like a nice little, it's like a spread, but I just kind of eat it out of the jar.
Well, and it's nice too, because then you're getting on the court and it doesn't irritate your stomach, right? You're not having to go through that digestion and then being not able to really play on the court because you're worried about what's happening
Yeah.
down there after
I
you ate
wouldn't
it.
say that I eat it before I play, maybe more like
Fair.
after.
That's fair.
But yeah, I'm pretty picky about what I'm eating beforehand, just because of my sensitive
Absolutely.
stomach. And yeah, like what, it's just always interesting because things, I ask other players too, like, oh, what do you do? And everyone
Yeah.
is so different. So there's
Yeah,
no one way to go about it.
for sure. Yeah. And I know I've worked with people as well who are like, I would love to eat before a match, but I know if I do that, it's going to come up on the court or I'm not going to be able to make it through the match. So I'm curious to hear, what is your pre-match, meal kind of look like? Obviously, we know it's individual, but
Yeah, I think it depends because, I could be playing at 9 in the morning or like 9 at night. It
yeah.
really depends what time of the day I'm playing. But typically, I mean, I kind of like, for breakfast I'll do like scrambled eggs and
Mm.
avocado and fruit, and then, I like, having enough protein, and I love like my grilled chicken.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much
Nice.
always a staple before I play, just like some bites of grilled chicken and like rice to just give me some of that fuel.
Cool. I mean, it sounds like a great balance of both protein and carbs, right? Which is what we're always looking for. I know
Yeah.
the registered dietitians out there are probably happy to hear that there's that balance. And then obviously you mentioned recovery, right? Our pre and our post are important. What does your recovery routine look like after a match?
Yeah. Once again, doing more mobility. Also I just listen to my body because
Mm.
sometimes like I have like a massage gun, so sometimes like I'll use that, but I'll kind of use that more for warming up and cooling
Mm.
down. But if there's a certain spot, I'll get on with that. Yeah, stretching, but more dynamic stretching than honestly than the static stretching for me.
Mm.
And then, I love, if I have access to it, I love doing cryotherapy,
Mm.
the compression boots, but that's like, if I have access. I would love to
Sure.
travel with compression boots, but I think I travel with enough things. So it may not make the cut.
Yeah.
So yeah, honestly, like I love like all the recovery, types of places and things like that. So
Yep,
if you ever have
absolutely.
access to those, I think those are super
They're
beneficial.
great. Yeah, I've seen those compression boots and man, they're awesome. They need to make like a travel portable size for you
I
so
think
you can
they
just take it
do
on the plane.
now.
Oh, do they?
But I think for certain body parts, not like for all. So
Ah,
yeah.
unfortunate. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely something to look into, right? For people
Mhm.
as a way to, help with recovery. I know massage can sometimes be used.
Yes, I
If
love
you
my
guys get
massages
that, oh
as
yeah,
well. Hmm.
absolutely, right? But the massage gun's an easy way to do it at home if that's not necessarily accessible for someone, right? So we talked about recovery, we've talked about kind of the pre. Um, what does a typical training day look like for you when you're at home where you're
Yeah.
training?
Normally train between like 2 to 3 hours a day, in the morning or in the afternoon, or sometimes a little bit of both. And then either fitness in the morning or in the afternoon. So, yeah, it's pretty busy, pretty busy day.
Absolutely. Do you feel like that's evolved since, your training days in college and juniors? Like how has your training changed since then?
Um, you know, I think as I've gotten older, my training has just changed, and not every day looks the
Mm.
same. And I think I've become a bit smarter with my body, and quality over quantity. I think as a junior, I think the progression is like, okay, you need to spend like 6 hours on the court
Yep.
and play. But after a while, like your body can only take so much. And for myself, that I do this every day, that I have to
Hmm.
just be conscious of that, and to also not put myself at risk for injuries and overtraining.
Yep.
So yeah, there's definitely days where I'll maybe hit just for an hour and a half, and I definitely take rest days now. They're important.
Oh yeah, they are.
Yeah. So I just think I've become so in tune with my body and what it needs on a daily
Hmm.
basis, that I'm able to make adjustments instead of being so rigid on, this is how I'm supposed to train, this is how many hours. Like I have more flexibility of, what, maybe I'm not feeling as great today. Like let's just taper off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Just like you said, listening to your body is so key. And I think a lot of us take that for granted, especially when we're younger. But in thinking of like for you, especially, right, the longevity in your sport, being able to play at a high level all of the time, right? And even as we grow into adulthood, and it's maybe not for money, but more just for pure enjoyment, right? Being able to listen to our bodies and not get carried away with, but it has to look like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you sharing that insight. That's really awesome. Um, so obviously that's at home, right? When you're out in travel, I'm guessing training looks a little bit different when you're on the road versus when you're at home.
Yeah, my training is definitely, I'd spend probably less time on court, just like as you get closer to a tournament. Like you want to make sure you're fresh and ready. I'm still training, but the volume definitely decreases both in the
Hmm.
gym and on the court. And then yeah, you just go into tournament mode, and it's just match after match, which is
And off
definitely a
you
different, yeah, off I go, which is definitely
go.
different type of load, and different type of stress, and even more stress on the body.
Yeah. How are you, balancing the mental aspect of the game with the physical aspect of the game in your
Yeah,
training?
they I think they go hand in hand. If you're not physically or mental, or both, if you're not mentally fresh, then you're also at risk for injury, and will be depleted physically. So yeah, I think both are very important, and definitely I think the mental side, that's something myself, and I think everyone that could consistently work on, and something we can control. I think that's something post college that I definitely got into, and it's really it's fascinating to see where the mind can take you.
For sure. What are some tips that you give, especially people that you're maybe coaching, either juniors or new players, on how to mentally stay healthy, both on the tour and off?
Yeah, I mean, I think just focusing a lot of what you can control, and just really staying present, and just really slowing yourself down and breathing. I think breathing helps a lot. I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm perfect at any of this, but it's something that all these things are things that we can definitely control.
For sure. And they're all skills, right? We've got to practice it just like we practice our forehand. We got to practice these mental skills, right? Taking care of ourselves and these kinds of things too, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, what's an underrated skill that you think more tennis players should practice?
Mm, I think mindfulness.
Mm,
Um, it's a very like, I guess, broad term, but in general, mindfulness is just like, I mean, for me, it's like being able to like slow myself down and just really sit with myself and sit with the discomfort of thoughts and feelings and, you know, mentally and physically and just, yeah, just kind of like working through that, and, staying very present. So I think that's something that I think everyone or all the players, can benefit from. And it's not, like you said, just hitting forehands and backhands. Like
right.
it's these things that really kind of control that.
Right. Especially in those big moments, right? How are you controlling your mind and what's going through it, during those big moments? And I think having those skills in the box, right? Like mindfulness, the breathing can really make a big difference. For
Mhm.
players at all levels. I don't know what you've seen. Obviously, on the pro tour, it's a little bit higher stakes than your typical weekend warrior. But we all have our stressors, and it's good to be able to control some of these things, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Speaking of mental health, what are some things that you like to do off the court?
I love to dance. That's
Nice.
a big hobby of
Oh
mine.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I'll take dance classes. I'll do like hip hop dance classes, and
That's awesome.
it is my stress reliever. It is my happy
Yep.
place. Yeah, and it's great. I mean, it's also, getting exercise, and it's just like, I don't know, I get these endorphins, and also like the
Yeah,
dance community, the people are so nice and welcoming.
they are. Yeah.
Um, so that's probably my biggest thing. Yeah, I journal, but
Okay.
I think that's just, more, I guess, yeah, that is obviously mental health. Yeah, I would say those are the two things that kind of come to the
I
top
love
of my
it.
head.
I'm 100% with you on the dancing thing. I started taking salsa lessons after college, and I was like, this is the best thing I could have done for myself
Oh,
because it's
awesome.
so cool. I mean, like you said, you use your body in a different way, and you get this rush of just, feel good chemicals and all that stuff. So I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, so, we've talked about things that you do on the court, things off the court. And then just kind of, I'd like to leave us all with some last thoughts. Anything else you'd like to kind of share with us? Is there anything, maybe that you've learned related to your game or tennis or anything that's been surprising to you that you're excited about to try more of in the future as you're continuing to grow?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the body is beautiful and so great and unique, and just even through the fluctuations and the days where I may not like it, just kind of, finding time to appreciate it, and knowing that, that is your biggest strength, and to be nice to it as much as possible. And, I've kind of learned that, as I've gone on, and just appreciating what I do have, and, really making the most out of it. So
Yeah.
yeah. And oh, I actually thought of another thing that I love to
Yeah, go
do.
for it.
Self-care, get
Yes.
my nails done, hair, massage. Like, it breaks my bank, but it makes me happy. So
Hey,
self-care is very important.
it is. And I think that's also another one of those underrated things, right, that we don't talk about nearly enough, right? How much
Correct.
time are we taking for ourselves, right? You can't drain from an empty cup kind of thing. So,
I've
absolutely.
learned the hard way sometimes, and
Yep.
I go back and reset with my self-care, and then I feel good.
Yeah. Honestly, you're not the only one. I totally am with you in that bucket. So, I
Mm.
appreciate you sharing that. This year's only halfway done. So what are you most looking forward to? I know, wild, right? What are you looking forward to for this upcoming year?
Wow. Yeah. I'm just trying to take it day by day. I
Yeah,
don't even know where the time is going. Tomorrow's going to be June. So that's crazy.
it's
It
wild.
feels like it's been a long year for me, honestly. Yeah, I've been putting a lot of hard work, on and off the court, mentally, physically, emotionally. So,
Hmm.
just hoping and manifesting that it all comes together, and, for a lot of success on court and, off court as well.
Absolutely. And that hard work pays off. And I know that you've been putting it in. So I think all the good things will come to you in the rest of this year. And I hope you do well in this upcoming tournament in Spain. So I'm wishing
Thank
you all
you.
the good vibes as you go forth. Anything else you'd like to leave our audience with, Jamie, before we wrap up for today?
I think that is it. I hope everyone learned a thing or two, and definitely take care of your body. You only have you. So if you can't, if you're not 100%, you can't give 100% to anyone else. So it's important.
I think those are the best words to end on. So I really appreciate you joining us, Jamie. If people want to find you, where's a good place for them to connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, JLoeb308.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Jamie, for joining us, and best of luck with the rest of the tennis season this year.
Thank you.